Last week we did a poll to check what experiment you wanted to know more about, and you've chosen invisible ink with cobalt chloride. Welcome to Cube Chemistry, where we will discuss all the elements of the periodic table and also do experiments. If you like these videos and want to see more, make sure to subscribe. Now, as promised, today we will be showing two examples of invisible ink. However, there are many more, so I think we will be revisiting this topic more times in the future. We will be using two very different ways of this experiment, and to be honest, one of them worked really well, but the other definitely had some downsides, which we will also discuss. So, let's dive into this topic, but first, like always, let's talk safety. Before we start, it's important to mention that cobalt chloride is both an irritant and a carcinogen. So make sure to wear safety goggles and gloves while preparing the solution. Avoid skin and eye contact at all costs. Now, that we're all set, let's move on to the materials that you will need. So, what do we need? Well, for the first experiment we would need 0.2 grams of cobalt chloride, 10 milliliters of water, a small beaker or glass, a cotton swab, plain white paper. I first used normal printing paper but switched over to watercolor paper, and I will explain later why. A heat source like a flashlight, a light bulb or hairdryer. And once you've got everything ready, we can jump into the experiment. Step 1. We are now going to dissolve 0.2 grams of cobalt chloride into 10 milliliters of water. Stir the solution until it's fully dissolved. Now grab a cotton swab and dip it into the solution. Since my handwriting would be a disgrace for this channel, you can see this in the first episodes I uploaded about 6 months ago, we asked a former elementary school teacher, aka my mom, to help me out here, so that the messages at the end would be actually readable. So, the next step is to carefully write your secret message on a piece of plain white color paper. Now, during the test we used normal printing paper, but the moist made the paper curl and it didn't look great, so we switched over to color paper. Let the message dry for a bit and then comes the fun part, revealing the invisible ink. But hold on, let's first do the second experiment. We will show you this result later. We will later heat this paper up so the message will reveal itself. So what is happening here? Well, one type of ink, cobalt chloride in this case, comes in two forms. Anhydrous, dry, cobalt chloride, which is blue, and hydrated cobalt chloride, which is purple. This color change makes it useful as an indicator for water. In our experiment, we dissolved the cobalt chloride in water and paint it onto paper. While wet, the compound stays in its hydrated purple form. Once the paper is heated, the water evaporates, dehydration occurs, and the cobalt chloride turns blue, revealing the hidden message. This is a great example of a heat-activated invisible ink. Now let's try another method using phenolphthalein, a chemical indicator with a different way of revealing these messages. For the second experiment, we need 10 milliliters of phenolphthalein, a small beaker or glass, a cotton swab, watercolor paper, some window cleaner with ammonia. Now, just like before, we will dip the cotton swab into the phenolphthalein solution and write our secret message on a piece of paper. Once it dries, we'll move to the reveal stage. So, what is happening here? Well, phenolphthalein works as a chemically treated invisible ink because it changes color based on pH levels. Normally, it's colorless when the pH is below 8.1, which is neutral or slightly acidic. When you write with phenolphthalein, the message stays invisible because the pH of the paper is neutral. To reveal the message, you spray the paper with something basic, like glass cleaner that contains ammonia. The ammonia releases hydroxide ions, which raise the pH and make the solution more alkaline. This causes a reaction where the phenolphthalein molecules lose hydrogen ions and become ionized. Once ionized, phenolphthalein changes color to pink. The ionized form absorbs certain wavelengths of light, making the pink color visible and revealing our hidden message. So, as a slight extra, I show you what happens when you have phenolphthalein and you add a little bit of ammonia to it. See? The color changes immediately to pink. How beautiful is that? So in short, phenolphthalein turns pink when exposed to ammonia because the pH changes, making it great invisible ink for chemical reactions. So, time to reveal the Cobalt message. As you can see, this message is not totally invisible. The other message was. This is why I think that in comparison, the phenolphthalein does a better job. So there you have it. 2 super cool ways to write invisible messages. One with heat and cobalt chloride, and the other with a chemical reaction using phenolphthalein. So, that was the video of today. If you liked it, make sure to like it, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. Also, make sure to fill in the poll for next week so you can influence the element that we will be discussing next week. See you then!